As Mate told us about the concept of Islamophobia, but another concept that is closely associated with Islamophobia is Orientalism. Orientalism is a concept introduced by Edward Said and is also explained in chapter 7 of Klassen. Movies and of series we grew up with contain Orientalism, even though we might not realize this before we knew the concept of Orientalism. As Said argues, Orientalism is the way we see popular culture through some kind of Western lens that unconsciously shapes our perspective towards specifically Arab people. Movies such as Aladdin, Pocahontas, but even series such as Prison Break or Homeland show us that the Arab culture is exotic, backwards, uncivilized, and at times dangerous. Dangerous in the way that they will destroy our modern Western society. Focusing on the European literature in the 18th to 20th century, Said shows us how Europeans and later Americans came to view the Orient through this particular lens that limited the ability to see any complexity of identity. Series such as Prison Break or Homeland show us an essentialized identity. This means that we see the Arabs as all the same. We generalize their culture, and this allows us to recognize the variety of cultures and Muslim identities that can be found in the Middle East. This Orientalist view can be found in the colonial conquest by many Western nations. In these times, the colonizing nations saw themselves as bringing the Orient into history, to bring the better Western values to these backwards cultures in order to uplift them. This uplifting notion could only be perceived through guidance and rules of the European nations, who were more suited to civilization. Said also argues that Orientalism in Europe developed within the move of the scientific exploration and explanation of the world. Within the Napoleonic expedition, the scientific exploration was linked to power. European scholars were able to understand and record Oriental culture better than the Orientals could themselves. Nowadays, Orientalism can still be seen in multiple Hollywood movies and series. As I stated before, series such as Homeland draw on such a singular representation to present Arabs and Muslims as terrorists. One good example is the movie called The Kingdom. You can watch the movie and maybe look with a different perspective now you know the concept of Orientalism. Another movie that draws a different representation of the Arab culture is The Dictator. This movie is a political satire comedy, but this is about a great dictator from a fictional Middle East country called the Republic of Wadia. Furthermore, Islamophobia is fed by Orientalism, but also aspects such as racism can be applied to Orientalism, but Job will tell us more about racism and anti-racism.